Welcome to the Ask Ezra Intimacy Coaching Podcast, a peek behind the curtain of some of the most intimate conversations that people have with Ezra as an intimacy coach. Join us for a session already in progress.
Dominique, tell me, what are you excited about? What do you also work as an intimacy coach, right? And so who's your ideal client?
My ideal client are people who have body shame, and no matter where it comes from, whether it comes from upbringing or religious things or the media, and it doesn't matter what it is that they're struggling with around their body, I can help support them and feel grounded in their body. I work with the inner critic, I work with self-love, and we use creativity, hence my paintings, to help move that energy around. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I do a lot of sort of late stage discovery or sexual discovery for people whose sexuality is not typical. I identify myself as kinky and polyamorous and pansexual, and so I'm on that journey myself, right? And so
Yes.
I love being a partner with people on their journey of discovery.
I love that.
I like to say I'm not an intimacy coach because I'm perfect and I'm done with my journey. I'm an intimacy coach because I'm on my journey and I want to help you be on your journey too.
Exactly. I think that's so important. I was thinking a lot about this recently, actually, just how we're always going to be, it's kind of like this acceptance that we're always on our journey. And then with that acceptance, it helps you kind of drop into your journey and just just put one foot in front of the other and continuously be in the flow, as I like to say.
Awesome. Yeah. What's your favorite part about being an intimacy coach?
My favorite part is when I get to the middle. I work with people usually for 6 months, and when we get to this mid place, and that's when women really, well, just people in general, women and couples really can drop into their desires, and they open up and they can see how powerful and amazing they are. And it helps them be in charge of their bodies and of their own sexuality and ask for what they want if they're in partnership, and just be able to move forward, knowing what they want.
Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah. Even though it continuously changes, right? And so it's like that piece too of giving themselves permission to just be okay with the change and the shifts that happen.
Yeah. Being able to own your needs and wants is so important.
Right. Yes.
Sometimes, so I started in a BDSM coaching space. I still do that sometimes, but it's not most of my work. But when I do that, usually I get the sort of the question is, how do I be a better dom, or how do I be a better sub? Right. And the answers, there's two answers to that question. It's always the same two answers. It's self-knowledge and communication.
Yes, 100%. I also am a former pro dom, and I use that. I'm not a pro dom coach or a dom coach or do kink coaching or anything. I will send them to you if they're interested. Sure. But just communication and knowing what you want, or at least having the awareness of what you're interested in looking for. I think it's so important.
So important. Yeah, we could do a whole episode just on communicating, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and it's so funny too, because I get in this space where we've all been sort of socialized in a similar way about how important that communication is. And I can forget at how challenging it is to communicate without that socialization, without that extra information about communicating. But I'd say my favorite part about coaching is this, I want to call it the rubber band snap, when people are absolutely pulled tight to their limit and they're like, this is all I can do. And I go, well, you don't have to be tight. And then pow. And then there's this huge release of energy, and it transitions from frustration and anxiety into enthusiasm and just joy. And I love that. I love people feeling stuck, transitioning to just being excited about where they can go and not feeling stuck. That's one of my favorite parts.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Okay. Tough question time. Ready for the
Okay.
hardball.
Bring it.
What is the hardest part for you about being an intimacy coach?
The hardest part for me personally is when I see these when they're in like this battle with their inner critic, and even though we've worked, that's actually the first thing I work on is working with their inner critic and helping them learn the messages they've received and how they've developed over the years. And for me, that's a hard part because you see them struggling with, well, like, why can't I just move on? And it's, I can't tell them. It's not my job to tell them because that's not what coaches do. And it's just not my job. It's like they have to be in this place where they have to realize that they have the ability to kind of step the inner critic, like push her aside, even though actually you will never be rid of your inner critic voice, like ever, but it quiets down throughout the coaching I do with them, and then eventually quiets down over the years. But when the voice does pop up, just knowing that it's going to be okay and you can deal with her however, or you can deal with them however you choose to. And just kind of when they're just so stuck in that place, I would say the first month is actually the hardest for me coaching them.
Sure.
Yeah, just because it's hard to deal with the inner critic.
Yeah,
just because so many things come up around it. So it just takes a lot of compassion and holding space for them.
Yeah. I would say for me, the hardest part is when they do not have the experience of attunement, like when they're not, when they feel like they can't tune in. And it's not a judgment because I was there too. Like I was gray rocking as like a childhood trauma response. I was like not even feeling my own feelings for a long time. So I get it. I get like not, but if you've never heard music and I'm like, hey, listen to the music, and they're like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
Right. That's really hard. It's hard to try to help somebody see something they can't even imagine seeing. Right. And it's really just tuning into your body, tuning into your emotions, and really like hearing it, hearing the music. Right.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
that's a tough one. That's a really tough one because it breaks my heart to because I know how painful that is,
right. Yeah.
To feel alone in your own body.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like I know how hard it is to be with the critics. I mean, it's kind of like we teach and we do what things that we've overcome and continually deal with. So,
Absolutely. What else can we teach, right? I mean,
we teach what we know.
Yeah. We teach how we've suffered. So
yes.
What's like your favorite experience? What's your favorite topic, let's say, when it comes to sex coaching?
Ooh, that's a juicy question. I'm like, ooh. My favorite topic is when they get to a place where they're like grounded in their bodies. They are understanding and realizing how much power they have, and they're able to just like move forward. It's like for women in particular, it's like, I found my voice. I'm just gonna, say whatever it is that comes to mind to their partners. It doesn't always go well, but they're just in this place where they have so much energy, and they can ask for what they want in bed. It's kind of like this place of experimentation. So that, and I also love teaching about masturbation because I work with women who actually have masturbated in the past, but they're not comfortable doing it per se. They're not present in their bodies. So that's my thing, is like they have to be present in their bodies. So so those are basically two of my most favorite things to teach.
Awesome. I think my favorite thing to teach is role play.
I love that.
Yeah. Like they say it's one of the three primary modes of sexuality, of sexual engagement, right? Is what is it? Interconnection, trance, and and role play, right?
Ooh,
And
I
role play
love
is
that.
definitely, it's me. Role play is me 100%, or maybe like I'm like 90 role play, 80 role play, and then 10 or 20 partner
I love
connection.
that.
Yeah. So I'm always like, if I'm in a sexual experience, I'm always like, okay, so the setting is like, even if I'm just by myself, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah, imagination.
I'm the landlord and you owe me money.
Yes.
How are you going to pay your rent? But no, I love that because it like gives us permission to step outside ourselves, right?
Mhm,
Like I
mhm.
love stepping into role play with my clients. Like we talked about asking for what you want and what you need, right?
Mhm.
And my favorite way to do that is to say like, okay, let's negotiate and we're gonna role
Right,
play. And first I'll be you and you could be your partner and I can see how your partner acts. And then
right.
I'll be your partner and you can be you. And right. And that's my favorite. I love role play. I love like getting into it and really it's such a funny thing because you still need to be in your body to role play, right? If you get in your head, it's all inner critic, right? Um,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yes, I can completely understand that. So it's
yeah.
easy, things like the role play piece is something that's always been super easy for me, but for my partner, it is like one of his least favorite things.
Yeah,
But
it's tough.
I
It's tough, but like if
love
you get into it, you could be anybody. You could
it.
be,
Exactly.
and it's like I love it because I love like the power play dynamics,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
there's nothing quite like, fostering a power play dynamic around a role play around like
Right.
interconnected power dynamics that happen in the world. And then
Hmm.
like I love it because you can also like take the power out of some charged situation that's really
Hmm.
hard to live in and then say, okay,
Hmm.
well, we're gonna like play with it and make it sexy. And then you still have to deal with it in life, but now
Right.
it's a little bit easier.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
Because it's something
absolutely.
that I've also thought about before. So I've been really, I went through this period where I was numb in my body and all that kind of thing. That's how I got to teach about the body, one of the
Hmm.
ways.
Yeah.
So my question is, what, how would I support people who are into kink and role play? How would I support them in not checking out and being numb in their bodies? Because it's kind of like why they like to do the kink and the role plays because they want to check out. So how would you have them not check out?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's why they want to do kink. I'd love to hear more about that.
Mm-hmm.
But in my experience, it's like an alternate path to intimacy, right?
Right.
But it's still body connection. Like you're still
Okay.
feeling it. I
Right.
think sometimes with dominance, you can like exist just in your brain and you can be like, I'm controlling the whole thing.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but the way to like drop into your body, right? So the best dominance, even the best dominance, I should say all kinky players, but even the best dominance, they're gonna get stuck if they're in their head. They're
Right.
gonna go like,
Right.
I don't feel it, like I don't know what to do next. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not feeling it. They're not getting the feedback from their partner. They're not in
Mm-hmm.
their body and getting those like yummy responses. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
getting into your body, it's just about sensation. It's like, where
Right.
is your focus? If your focus is, what are people going to think about this scene? What is my what is my partner thinking right now?
Mm-hmm.
You're stuck in your head, right? And
Right.
so to get into your body, you focus on your sensation. What does this leather smell like?
Mm.
What is the sound of the flogger
Yes.
hitting, right?
My
What is yeah,
favorite.
yeah,
Yes.
how does the room feel? How do my clothes
Mm.
feel on my skin? How does my
Mm-hmm.
feet feel on the floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does my mouth feel? Is there a taste in my mouth? And just like bringing your awareness to your senses,
Mm-hmm.
right, is going to help bring you into your body and out of your head and be more connected. And when you get more connected, you're going to realize that you feel what your partner's feeling, right?
Right.
Your
Yeah, absolutely.
empathy and attunement. Like attunement is something you can do on your own. It could be
Mm-hmm.
about like attunement to your own body, but
Mm-hmm.
it also is your connection to your partner or to someone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you focus on your internal sensations,
Mm-hmm.
you open the doorway, you turn the radio into that signal that your partner is sending to you.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I actually I well, I was a pro dom for years, but I and my partner is my master, but we'll talk more about this in a little bit. But
Yeah.
my but it wasn't until whatever it was, 2019 technically. No, 2018, sorry. That I realized that I enjoyed being a sub for other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
had to get his like permission to be a sub for other people. In particular the pain pieces, right? And it gave me so much pleasure because I could be in my body in those moments with the other people as well, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a cis hetero monogamous relationship,
Yeah.
but poly kink. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Some people call it poly play.
Poly play, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's only with kink I'm allowed to be poly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I love the
Sure.
term poly kink.
Yeah.
Because it's a distinguish for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so amazing when I was able to be in my body and be a sub for other people and be submissive to these other people, and the
Mm-hmm.
pain that they would give me to help me be in my body, and they would get pleasure out of it as well. And yeah, it was really an amazing experience. It was always live stuff that it was always performance stuff as well. That's
Oh
why I
yeah.
was like, oh, you perform? I've never officially been filmed or anything like that, but I loved it so much. It was such a beautiful thing to be in these moments with these people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
definitely understand the feeling.
yes, yes, 100%.
Yeah. Did you have any additional questions for me, or should we just jump into it?
um, how does one become your sub? I mean, that is, you can edit that out, but I was like, yeah.
Sure. No, I think that's a valid question. There tends to be like a lot of protocol in those BDSM spaces,
Right.
but it's not like a standardized protocol, and so it can be really
Mhm.
confusing to like learn how that happens, right?
Yeah, because I got paid for my work, and I,
Yeah.
worked with, another dom in a house and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. So it was a completely different
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. So for me personally, in my personal relationships, I typically only date in the BDSM community.
Hmm.
So it is, um, you come to a party and you meet me, or you
Hmm.
come, if you came to a class and you met me, then I would have to say like let's be friends for a while first, because
Hmm.
I don't want the influence of being my student to
Hmm.
impact our relationship,
Right.
right? I
Absolutely.
don't want to
Yeah.
be taking advantage of students. I want a safe space for my students. So
Right.
if you met me in a class, you got a 6 month waiting period before we can start dating. Um,
Yeah.
and I do what's called pickup play. So if you randomly meet me at a dungeon, then I generally am open to having a conversation about just having, some play, some BDSM play without like knowing you particularly well first. We're not going to go like heavy and do scary stuff right away, because I want to make sure that, everybody is relatively safe and we all know
Right.
each other, and but I am open to a getting to know you spanking. That's definitely on the table.
Sounds amazing.
I love the world we live in.
Love
Uh yeah. No, and
it.
if somebody said to me, I'm interested in being your sub, I'm interested in being in a relationship with you, in a
Mhm.
dynamic with you, I would say, okay, I would say let's play one more time. If we haven't
Mhm.
played, I'd say, well, maybe let's get some coffee and talk about what you're interested
Mhm.
in finding. Um, I do like to have prospective subs fill out a survey,
I
and
love that.
yeah, it's
Ezra,
it
that's amazing.
it's
That's a really good.
exhausting. It's exhausting too. I'll link it. I'll put it in the show notes. But
Right.
I like this new Idaho BDSM checklist, which is I think it's 35 pages of checklist. It's 590 items. It's exhausting. It's
But
like,
it's fantastic because then you can
yeah,
find the people who are serious about it,
yeah.
right?
Well,
Yes.
number one, it shows me that you can put a couple hours into something.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really want to be in a relationship with you if you can't sit down and focus. Number
Mm-hmm.
two, it gives us an opportunity to negotiate about a thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you're like, I can't do this, then we'll say, okay, well, what's the problem? What's preventing you from doing that? Is there some alternative?
Mm-hmm.
Or some people go like, I'll do it, but you have to like hang out with me while I do it. Or like, I'll do it, but I'm gonna half do it. Or I'll
Yeah.
do it and I'm gonna tell you it's gonna be done on Friday, and then I won't have it to you for another month and a half. And sort of the
Oh,
way they
well, that
handle
drives
this
me
task
bananas.
is honestly like really telling,
Right.
and can inform me. And I don't think that any of those are necessarily deal breakers, but like they
Mm-hmm.
let me know how they're going to handle an arduous task,
Mm-hmm.
because I can be quite difficult also. And so
Mm.
if I'm difficult, how are you going to handle me?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. I hear you.
but
That.
I have a number of boundaries in place to keep me from getting into the wrong relationship quickly.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to get in the wrong relationship, I'd like it to take some time.
Yes. Yeah, it can get
um
complicated sometimes.
Okay, so I have a 90-day sex rule, right? So
Mhm.
if we start dating, it's 3 months until we can have sex.
Oh, I love
Um,
that.
it's
That's
not a
fantastic.
guarantee for after the three
Hmm.
months, but it's certainly, you're not going to hit it and quit it. There's um, no free meals.
Right. Yeah.
I have, so I also have a 6 month consideration period.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
Oh.
if everything works, everything feels right, and you're like, yes, I still want to do this, and I still want to do it, say, okay, well, now you are my sub under consideration, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, I want to draw some parallels to like the matrimonial pathway, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
dating. Dating is the consideration period, and the
Right.
consideration period is a minimum of 6 months. Right.
Oh,
And
yeah, I like that.
at the end of the consideration period is collaring, right? And
Oh, right, right.
you could have a consideration collar if you
Hmm.
wanted, if you felt like really vulnerable and you wanted
Hmm.
everybody to know that you're not available.
Hmm.
I almost exclusively date polyamorous people, and so for me
Yeah.
it doesn't usually come up, because you could be dating me seriously and still be available, and that's
Hmm.
okay with me.
Hmm.
But so let's say that everything works out well and 6 months is plenty for the consideration period, then you definitely get a collar for the next period, which is a training period, which lasts another 6 months minimum.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I
And,
love that you work with people for
mhm.
that long who are.
Yeah.
So, just for clarification, you are a master who also dates your they're not clients, but your
No, they're not clients. Yeah.
sorry, your people. Sorry. My
Yeah.
brain just
So
brain farted for a
submissives. Yeah.
second.
So
Submissive, sorry.
yeah, absolutely. So, and it's interesting because you can have a dynamic where you're not dating,
Hmm.
right? You can have a submissive and you're not dating, which is to say
Right.
not investigating a romantic relationship,
Right.
right?
Right.
But I sort of like mix the two just for the sake of people understanding, right? Because I think
Right.
a lot of the people who are hearing this are not going to know like that there is that distinction. And so somebody could be in a consideration period, but for whatever reason
Hmm.
we're not eligible to be in a relationship that is emotional. That's not a romantic relationship,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so in that case, it would be, you could be under consideration and we're not dating, but I am
Oh,
open to dating my submissive also, if that makes sense.
that's 100%.
And so you get through the consideration period, and then you get through the training period, and then you get a collar, and then that
Mm-hmm.
would be I mean, I don't want to say permanent, but it doesn't
Hmm.
have like a specific end cap on it.
Hmm.
Sometimes it makes sense to have an end cap where you
Right.
have a partner and say, okay, we're going to do this for 6 months and we're going to see how that goes.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the pathway to my feet, I suppose. Not my
Oh,
heart, my feet.
Yes, is a big difference.
Yeah. That's probably a good pathway to my heart also, if I'm
Yeah,
honest. Yeah.
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 Oh, I love that, Ezra. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a long time since somebody was under consideration, if I'm honest. But
Mm-hmm.
that's okay. I'm not in a rush.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Do you have, oh, sorry. I was gonna say, how many people do you usually date at a time
Uh
or have as subs at a
I
time?
think you overestimate my popularity, honestly.
Oh, I was just like, you're so
Yeah.
fantastic. I was just
No,
curious.
I had 5 partners at one point.
Hmm.
Anywhere from I was like married to one of them, and one of them was like a casual play partner.
Okay.
And there was like stuff in between.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, my slate is clean. I have a play partner right now.
Hmm.
Would you like private intimacy coaching? Perhaps you'd like to be a guest on our show. Either way, book your free 30-minute intro call with Ezra at AskEzra.info.
Are you ready to do some intimacy coaching? You ready to be my bottom?
Yeah, I'll be your bottom any day.
Tempt me with a good time.
Yeah, don't tempt me with a good time. Okay, let
Yeah.
me pull up my dress. I'm ready.
Jesus. Okay. So yeah, what's going on with you, Dominique? How are you feeling? What's going on? What's coming up?
Oh, um, so this is so beautiful. This is perfect timing. So in my world, it's so funny. And just a reminder for people that sex coaches also love sex coaching.
Yeah, coaches need coaches for sure.
Exactly. Anyways, I am in a place where I'm poly kink, and I would like to get my partner more involved. He's described himself in the past as vanilla. He is the furthest from it, minus his appearance. So he's a firefighter, super sexy and delicious, but he's also someone who I would like him to discover his fetishes or kinks. He's not actually into doing things that I like flogging and spanking and all those kinds of, and like using my toys, my pain toys. He'll do it because I like it, but he gets no joy out of it, which in turn doesn't give me joy. It's just kind of like what you were talking about earlier, right? So because the last time I got a good flogging, it was 2019, and I was in LA at a club, and it was amazing. The dominant person and I were in this beautiful dance. It was lovely, and I would like to please my partner in a way, but he doesn't know what his kinks are or fetishes.
Yeah.
I feel like I know what they are, but I don't want to tell him what I think they are. So how would you be able to support me in this? And I've asked him to think about it.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, oh, this is so frustrating. Because he hung out with so he's from Hawaii and hung out he's hung out in the leather scene, and he would go to shows where people would be suspended and super goth-y situation. And I'm like, okay, well, that's definitely part of it. His best friend is also a master and talks about his people as well, although he does have a partner right now, that guy. But he's just a kinky guy. But I just don't know how to kind of like nudge him along, because he doesn't. I feel like because I'm a sex coach, she's like, no, I don't want to talk to you about this. And I'm like, but you're my partner.
Yeah,
you're my person.
No, I hear you. I hear you. And I think you're not alone. I think a lot of people, especially women, are interested in sort of helping their male partners expand.
Right.
Yes. And it's tricky, especially when you identify as submissive and they identify as dominant, because dominants usually don't like to be told what to do, and submissives don't usually like to tell people what to do. So it's tricky.
this is making sense then.
Yeah, you're not alone. So, I mean, the very first thing I could do is just validate and normalize, like, this is a challenge a lot of people are facing.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to honor the fact that you haven't come to me saying, I want him to be into the things that I'm into.
No, I don't need
Right.
him to be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Well, that's a big issue that comes up. It's an
Mm-hmm.
entitlement issue, right?
Right.
Nobody is obligated to be interested in the things that you're interested in. Right.
No.
And so I think your attitude of, I want to find out what he's into for him is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that's the best attitude you could possibly come to this situation with. So thank you for
Okay.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You've already got a leg up.
Thank goodness.
So there's ways that you can do this, and they range on a spectrum of sort of, let's call it a confrontation spectrum.
Yeah.
Right. So all the way on the most confrontational is to like grab him by the shoulders, shake him, and tell him, what are you into? Don't do that.
No, he would
It
not.
wouldn't
He
work.
would not
Yeah.
respond well to that.
Well, but I mean, close to that would be to
Mhm.
say, like, print out this 35-page survey and say, hey, can we do this together?
Right.
That's still
Yeah.
pretty confrontational. That's still like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm holding your feet to the fire to discover this. The other thing is to seek out media, right? Is to
Right.
like seek out, like, hey, like, let's watch some fetish porn and see like what, if anything, clicks for you.
Yeah, because there, I think he might be interested in I want to say he's interested in role play, but he doesn't like it because he gets so much on his head.
Mm,
But I think he would be interested in some kinky role play, but kinky like with furries, or he might be a furry. I don't know. Like, and I've asked
mm.
him if we could watch porn that he likes together, and he's just like, "Well, I'll just watch anything." And I'm like, "That again, this isn't helping."
Yeah. So I
So,
think framing the conversation with your curiosity will be really
mhm.
helpful, right?
Right.
Because you're not just interested in watching porn, you're interested in
Yep.
watching the porn that he wants to watch.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the challenge, is to really lead with your curiosity
Hmm.
and say, hey, like, I so want to get even better to know you. I still want to get to
Hmm.
know you even better.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that should be the focus of the experience.
Hmm.
Right. I think
Hmm.
it can feel like a trial or a chore,
Hmm.
and really think about it as like a discovery process. Think about it as, you're going on a journey together, and you're going on a journey to his fantasy land. Right.
I really want to. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll dress up in anything. I'll be whoever it is that you would like me to be.
Hmm.
We've watched porn, but it's just kind of run of the mill to me, run of the mill like cis porn, like like
Well, what if,
gang bangs and all that kind of thing. And I'm like, I mean, but that's not what he wants in the real life. So it's just, but he's not just interested in that. He's like, we've even talked about going to a brothel, because we're right next to Nevada, and like trying to do a threesome with, I would like to get like a woman who specializes, who's a dominatrix essentially. I
yeah.
would love to have a threesome with a dominatrix. But it's just this thing where I just don't know what he wants. And it's
Yeah.
and it's hard when a partner, and I know from coaching, it's hard when a partner also say they don't know and they're not willing
Hmm.
to dive into their psyche to try it out. So it's kind of like pulling out this information.
Well, what if, like, he has kinks and fetishes, but he's like 1% interested in them, right? And you call it like
Yeah.
100% is like you need it to get off,
Mm-hmm.
and like 1% is like, if it happens, then okay, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even gonna turn my head to look
Right.
if it's not in my field of view. Like, can you accept that if that's his orientation?
Yeah, I can accept it. I think the hardest part for me, Ezra, is that he keeps saying he doesn't know. But
Yeah.
because of the friends he's had and because of the events he would attend, and that he's still friends with these people. I mean, they're like all into cosplay, role play. Um, definitely cosplay. So it's like this thing where it's like, just as soon as you figure it out, just tell me, and we will go and figure it out together. Right.
Yeah. Well, I hear your frustration.
Mm-hmm.
I can really feel it. And I think that it's an obstacle
Mm-hmm.
right now, and it's not an obstacle to be overcome or to be solved, but to be accepted. And you're going to have a lot easier
Right.
time. You're actually going to be able to move forward. Like imagine you want to go lose weight at the gym,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there's this attitude of I'm not skinny enough to go to the gym,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you've got to accept where you're at in
Mm-hmm.
order to be able to move forward. And I think that's where the rub is that you're not accepting of his pace of discovery, right? There is a
Right.
pace of discovery. It's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it may never get to where you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Can you still live with it?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was a big piece once I understood in my person. This was last year. We went to the Pleasure Chest in LA, which is an amazing store. You've been there, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
We got some delicious BDSM things and some other toys, and he is not interested. I mean, he let me try it out on him, and I had to teach him how to flog me and that whole thing. But he's just not interested in that. And it's taken a while for me to kind of drop into this place where I'm like, oh, he just is not interested in anything BDSM. What else is he's definitely kinky. What is his what are his things that he is interested in?
Mm,
And I mean, we're married, so I feel like, it might be in 5 years, 10 years, who knows? It might be next week.
yeah.
Who knows? But I feel at some point I'll figure it out, but I also don't need to know. As long as
Yeah.
I can have my kinky self and do my poly kink, um, to me that is enough.
Yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
and how wonderful of a situation you're in, right?
Right.
Like can we just for a moment celebrate that you're getting your needs met even when they are not something that he can address?
Right. Like he doesn't even like to be around when I'm being flogged, you know.
Yeah.
He makes himself scarce. And that's just that's like it's just and we haven't tried ropes yet, but we do have those. But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, it's just not his thing.
Well, I think that your challenge moving forward is to continue to test,
Mm-hmm.
continue to try things
Mm-hmm.
with him in a
Mm-hmm.
way that's not going to fatigue him, that's not going to overwhelm him
Right.
and turn him off from the process of discovery. Because
Right.
if every time you try something, he's not into it, you express frustration or anger
Mm-hmm.
or disbelief, eventually it's going to lead to resentment.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
poison. That's poison for the relationship.
Right. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I haven't in person with him, I haven't expressed resentment or frustration. I've just been like, okay, well, if that's not your thing, that's totally fine.
Hmm.
We don't have to do that. And we would just move on to something that he enjoys.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Well, that's
um,
good. But
yeah.
I mean, you've got to be careful because it's grapes aren't wine, right? Grapes turn into wine,
Yes.
and
Yes.
frustration isn't resentment, but frustration turns into resentment.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There's the rub. Yes.
There is
Okay.
the rub. Yeah. And so really, I mean, the challenge for you is acceptance. The
Hmm.
challenge for
Yeah.
you is to accept the space that he's in and
Hmm.
that he may never get to where you'd like him to be.
Hmm.
But, just remember the things that make him a partner, make him the person that you love, the person that you want to spend your life with, right?
Right.
Because it
Yeah.
must be a long list.
Oh, yeah. It's a very long list. He is a phenomenal human being.
Yeah.
Very, very lucky to be with him
And
and happy.
it could be that maybe he's not kinky, but he's like kink adjacent, right? And
What
that,
is that? I've actually never heard that term. Kink
yeah,
adjacent? What is
kink
that?
adjacent is like somebody who is married. So your husband would potentially be kink adjacent, right? And in that you are actively kinky
Yeah.
and he is accepting of that and loving of
Hmm.
you, even
Hmm.
though it's not his interest.
Right. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, he is very kink adjacent. And I can see how I was like, is he just a voyeur? When I went to the show, like he didn't participate, but being a voyeur is participating
In a way, yes, it
in a
is.
way, you
Yeah,
know. Hmm.
certainly.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. I'm going to tell him. I learned a new term today, kink adjacent.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and it's certainly possible. It's certainly, I mean, there are people who you might clock as gay, and it
Hmm.
turns out they just want to be really supportive of those spaces and
Right.
they appreciate the culture and they're just really not interested in that. And I think for some people, there's a blockage, but for other
Right.
people, there's no blockage. It's just what it is. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
also, if that person that has a blockage, that person who like really could be gay, if they could just let go of something,
Hmm.
like they may never let go of it. And then if that's the
Right.
case, like, can you accept them where they're at,
Mm-hmm.
without the
Yeah.
condition of progress?
Right. Oh, I love that. That's beautiful.
Thanks for watching the Ask Ezra Intimacy Coaching Podcast. Support our show at patreon.com/AskEzra. Join us at the personal growth tier and receive a special thank you on the next podcast episode. A very special thank you to both Sarah Nash and Deb Matson for being Patreon supporters at the personal growth tier and helping make the Ask Ezra Intimacy Coaching Podcast possible.